on this really warm evening. I hope it's comfortable wherever you are. I was tempted at one point to bring it outside into the garden, but there's so much building work going on behind. You probably wouldn't have been able to hear me, so probably best to stay indoors. Okay, so we're going to start off with legs up against the wall, or legs raised, elevated, or at the knees bent. And allowing yourself to arrive to the practice. Sort of mentally releasing all of the activity that went before this. Perhaps dinners, perhaps work, perhaps ferrying people to and fro, or just organizing yourself to let go of everything else that's been before that needs to be yet done, and just arriving to your space. And if you need to take a couple of breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, even ahhing or sighing the breath out, just do that. So just when we make a little bit of a noise with our breath, it can sometimes deepen the breath, but also vibrates in the body. So you may feel it in the chest. And when we have that vibration, that's why singing or sometimes shouting can just be cathartic, because it sends a vibration into the physical body and it allows those muscles to release if they're holding on to a lot of tension. And if we've been very busy or anxious, or, just trying to organize things to be here, you can feel that tightness in around the chest. So doing your little body scan, you're starting at the top of the head, because generally we're all in our head when we're arriving to a practice. So noticing how the head's feeling. And if you're sort of drawn to using the hands, to place the hands on different parts of the body as we carry out through the body scan, you can absolutely do that. So like placing the hands on the scalp, or over the eyes, or along the jawline, anywhere where you feel tension, feel free to do that. So feel free to gently place the hands there. And imagine breathing into and out from that place of tension or stress. With each out breath, allowing a softening and a releasing of tension. And if you've just joined, if you'd like to lie down and just elevate the legs, or just have the knees bent, whatever suits you. Elevating the legs can be very comfortable, so placing them up on the chair or on the wall. And then softening the breath. And traveling down then from the top of the head, or in or around the head, noticing how the neck and throat is. So this is another area that we can feel quite a bit of stress. Sometimes you can feel like there's a lump in your throat, or if there's really tight muscles at the sides of the neck that can constrict the blood flow. It can make you feel lightheaded, or just have headaches, migraines. These are all things that I used to suffer from with high levels of stress. It's this big lump in my throat, real tight muscles in my neck causing headaches and migraines. So being aware of wherever your trigger area is, and just giving it a little love, a little, just a little kindly awareness. Not trying to criticize it, not trying to force it to be different or question why is it there. It's just actually going, it's okay, I've got you. It is what it is, and that's okay. Then coming down to the shoulders, the back and the chest. How is it here? Have you been sitting a lot? If you've been sitting or standing a lot, have the shoulders rounded forward, or does the chest feel quite comfortable in the back? Maybe moving the shoulders a little, even if you're lying down, shrugging them or opening up the palms of the hands. That can open up the shoulder joint, the muscle, the joint at the front of the shoulder. Just turning the palms up and down, shrugging the shoulders up and down, or even just slightly moving the torso from side to side, even if you're lying on the floor. Sensing into the sides of the body, the ribs, the muscles that connect all the way from the back of the body around to the front. So we have that like corset of muscles around midsection. Down to the lower back and the abdominals. And once again, if you are drawn to placing hands on the belly or even on the tops of the legs or anywhere at all, that helps you to connect with that part of the body and bring your awareness there. You can do that. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose if you can, if you're comfortable with that. Or just out through the mouth to begin. Now we've come to the little pelvic tilts, checking in the lower back. So drawing in the belly and flattening the lower back on the floor, and then releasing the tummy. So tilting the pelvis and getting that little lower arch, lower back arch again. So drawing in the belly, flattening the lower back, and then releasing the belly. So what happens is a lot of the time we're tightening our tummies all the time, which gives us no release. So the muscles need to contract and relax and contract. But if we have it in contraction all of the time, then that causes a lot of tension to build up in the muscle. So we need to consciously release the tummy muscles and then consciously draw them in. So we get a little bit of an ebb and flow, and it might not feel like there's much movement at the beginning. Just with time, you may sense a little difference in the tone and the ability to draw in and release. And psychologically, it can sometimes be difficult to let that tummy just pop out. Our tummies, this area is holding a lot of vital organs. It's a huge amount of work that goes on. So just appreciating that actually the lower intestines are here. You know, we have the abdominals that are holding us around. So there's a lot that's keeping us standing. We have the kidneys, the liver, gallbladder. You know, there's so much going on. So just really appreciating the complexity of the body. And then coming back to neutral again, and we're bringing the awareness to the legs, the hamstrings and the quads. Are they tight? Do they feel comfortable? The knees, the calves, the ankles. If you have the space or you have the ability to point the feet and flex the feet, just doing that a couple of times and really become aware of the muscles that are engaged as you move your feet. So when you press the heels away, do you feel that lengthening of the muscles at the backs of the legs? When you point the toes away, do you feel the lengthening at the fronts of the legs? And see if your feet are dropping out to the side, or can you keep those thigh muscles rotating inwards to help lengthen the legs? And then coming back to neutral, just wiggling the toes and wiggling the fingers and the thumbs as well. Rotate the wrists. Maybe you feel or hear a couple of little clicks. Rotate the ankles. And change direction. So make sure you're going in both directions. And then spreading out the fingers and spreading out the toes as best as you can. And sensing into each of the joints. Are there any joints that feel a little bit stiffer than others? And each time that you notice something that may be a little uncomfortable or a little different, show compassion and kindness to yourself. Don't be judgmental about it just because that's interesting. You know, be curious about it. And especially if it's something that you haven't noticed before, be really, you know, grateful to yourself for noticing something. That's really fantastic, because a lot of the time we're on automatic and we don't notice things because we're just processing constantly. So slowing things down and noticing how we are in the body at this moment of time is brilliant. Relaxing the hands back down again, so the arms are just by the sides of the body. The hands can rest on the belly or they can be away from the sides of the body if you like. Bending the knees, placing the feet flat on the surface, a little gap between the feet, and gently sway the knees from side to side. So whether you're lying down or the feet are on a chair or up on the wall, there's just a slight bending of the knees and you're sensing into the lower back. And maybe turning the head in the opposite direction to the knees. And up through center, bringing the knees to the other side, head in the opposite direction. And connecting it with your breath. So going as slowly as you can, breathing in one direction, breathing out in the other. And coming back to center, bringing the soles of the feet together, allow the knees to fall out to the sides. Breathing in, letting the arms float up towards the ceiling, bending the elbows and resting the arms on the floor behind the head. If you need to bring the arms out to the sides, that's absolutely fine. So noticing if your shoulders are a bit tight or the upper back, or even the sides of the body, this can restrict our flexibility of that upper back and shoulders and pecs as well. So just being kind to yourself, noticing how it is to open up the shoulders, open up the hips. How do the knees feel, the elbows? Breathing, being consciously aware with each breath out that we want to soften or release from certain areas that are holding tension or holding on to. Just holding, in fact, it may not be holding on to tension or restrictions, but it could be just that holding on, not quite ready to release and let go, gripping. So we're looking or hoping to soften. Then the next time you're breathing out, bringing the arms back down by the sides again and helping the knees up to the center. This time bring the knees together and bring the feet out slightly. So the knees are rotating inwards. This is a slight rotation of the hips. So the inner rotation. And just resting it here for a moment. So the feet out to the sides, prop the knees together. And notice how it is at the tops of the legs. Are the tops of the legs gripping and holding on? Could you soften the grip of the hip flexors, or do they feel comfortable already? And then walk the feet back in again so that the knees and the ankles are together. And drop the knees over to one side and roll over onto that side, resting there for a moment. So the knees are coming up towards the tummy. Chin is in towards the chest. You're rounding the back. How is the back of the head, back of the neck, all the way down the length of the spine, down to the base of the spine, the coccyx, and then the back of the body, backs of the legs, all the way down to the heels. And when you're ready, use the upper hand to press the floor away. Come into tabletop just for a moment. And if you want to put a support underneath the knees, that's absolutely fine. We'll just do gentle little movement back and forwards here, just to kind of warm up the wrists, warm up the knees. You can curl the toes under if you like. Bring the weight forward and back, just sensing into the back. So the movement isn't too big just right now. You're just seeing how are those hands and those wrists. Come back into tabletop. Breathing in, lifting up the tailbone, dropping the tummy, lifting the chest. Breathing out, tucking the tailbone, arching the spine, bringing the chin in towards the chest. Breathing in, lifting the tailbone, dropping the tummy, lifting up the head. And breathing out, tucking the tailbone, arching the spine, dropping the head. Once again, lifting the tailbone, dropping the tummy and lifting the head. And this time just move the hips from one side to the other and use the upper body to go sort of in the opposite direction, almost like a dog wagging its tail. So you're just getting a little bit of movement into the sides of the body and then back to center. Now we're going to move the ribs over to the left, then drop the tummy down towards the floor and bringing the ribs up to the right and arching the spine. So we're doing a kind of a barrel roll with the torso. So moving from one side to the other, connecting with the breath, breathing in one direction, breathing out in the other, and then change direction. So we're coming across the body, down towards the floor and up again. Breathing in one direction, breathing out in the other. And just bringing as much movement as you comfortably can to the spine. And then coming back to neutral, and you can do a movement of your choice. So if it's kind of wagging the tail again, or if it's the barrel roll, or if it's cat-cow, just moving as you would like to, perhaps even sitting down towards the heels and bringing the weight forward again. So sensing into the spine, the wrists, the shoulders, the hips, looking over one shoulder, looking over the other. And then when you're ready, coming to sit in an easy cross-legged pose for just a moment. So sitting up on a folded blanket or a cushion, crossing the legs at the shins, or rolling the feet forward to sit up with the heels in line with one another. Whatever is most comfortable for you. Closing over the eyes for a moment and just coming into that awareness of the body in an upright position. Crown of the head is extending upwards, shoulders in line with the hips, hands resting on the lap, first finger and thumb together. Become aware of how the legs are feeling. Is there a lot of holding on or does it feel comfortable? Can you feel lightness in the upper half of the body lifting upwards? We're just going to do a little alternate nostril breathing just for a couple of breaths. And we start by closing the right nostril. So we always start by beginning to breathe in through the left. As you breathe in through the left, and you can hold the opposite elbow if your arms are a bit tired or anything, just make yourself comfortable. So closing over the right, breathing in through the left. Close the left and open the right and breathe out through the right. Breathe in through the right. Closing and breathe out through the left. Breathe in through the left. Closing and breathe out through the right. In through the right. Closing and breathe out through the left. Just continue doing that just for a couple more breaths. And if you don't feel comfortable with the alternate nostril breathing, you can absolutely do this just through imagination as well. So you can rest the hands down and imagine you're breathing in through the left and out through the right. And in through the right and out through the left. And the next time you breathe out through the left, just bring the hands to rest down in front of you, on like one hand resting on the other, thumbs pressed together, elbows hanging by the sides, crown the head lifting up towards the ceiling, and closing over the eyes for a moment, and just sense into how the body and the breath is feeling at the moment. And also sense into the mind. Is the mind jumping around? Does it feel okay? If there's irritations or anxieties, just acknowledging them, not trying to push them away, just noticing that they're there. As The Guest House by Rumi, that poem says to welcome it all in. That each guest is sent to us. Each guest has a message. And so just allowing them to be there. And gently opening up the eyes, bringing the hands together, rubbing the palms of the hands together. Interlace the fingers, making your fists nice and tight, and just roll the wrists in one direction. And then change direction, rolling them in the other. And then opening up the hands, pressing the hands away, drop the shoulders down, bring the chin in towards the chest, and drawing the belly in and out with the breath. So as the fingers are pointing up towards the ceiling, checking that the shoulders are down and the wrists are in line. And then point the hands, the fingers down. And again, you're trying to do the belly breathing. Don't worry about it too much. If it just feels like there's too much going on, it's fine. But if you can, you're imagining that you're belly breathing at the same time as sensing into the hands. And then turn the palms of the hands to face out. So Spider-Man hands. Fingers are pointing down. And then shaking out the arms, shaking out the hands, and shaking out the fingers. So if you've been doing a lot of work on typing or on the phone or driving and the hands have just been in the same position, this just is a great way to shake out all of that. Lovely. Now, place one hand on the floor. The other hand is going to reach up towards the ceiling. Feel the lengthening into the side of the body, and then just bend the elbow, cupping the back of the neck, gazing up towards the elbow, pointing up towards the ceiling, and leaning into that side bend. And you're just doing it nice and gently to begin with, and releasing the hand up towards the ceiling, letting that hand float down onto the floor. And the other side, reaching up towards the ceiling, bending the elbow, cupping the back of the neck, elbow pointing up towards the ceiling, looking up at it if it's comfortable. But again, like sense into the sides of the body. We have a lot of organs in these areas, so if it feels like something is not sitting right, adjusting as needed. And then reaching the hand up towards the ceiling and back down. This time taking the first hand, bending the elbow, and reaching towards the back of the base of the neck. So it's as if you were patting the top of your shoulder and reaching just as far as is comfortable. And the other hand can give you the balance that you need in order to be able to lean over. So the elbow's pointing up and you're patting the space between the shoulder blades or wherever you reach. Breathing into the side of the body. And then reach the hand up towards the ceiling, let that hand float down. We do the other side. So hand on the floor gives you a bit of balance. You can lean right over, reach the hand up, bend the elbow, and pat the space between the shoulder blades or just below the neck. And again, it's to be nice and comfortable for your neck. You should still be able to move your neck. Breathing into it. And then coming back up to sit. This time, the first hand is going to bend the hand, the elbow, so the hand is folding down towards the floor. You're going to bring that behind you. So the back of the hand is in the back of, it's in the middle of your back, and you're reaching up as far as you can. If you can reach up between your shoulder blades, that's fantastic. I cannot. So this takes a lot of flexibility. That shoulder needs to open, you bend the elbow, and then you reach up the back of the hand between the shoulder blades or up as far as it can go. The other hand can give you a bit of balance. And then sitting back up. And then the second hand, again, make sure that that shoulder is open by rotating it. Then bend the elbow. So the hand is pointed out towards the floor. And then reach around the back of the body. Back of the hand is coming up between the shoulder blades or as far up as it can go. And one side might be more flexible than the other. And continue to breathe. And then sitting back up again, releasing that hand. Now we're going to see if we can bind them. So we'll take the first hand up towards the ceiling, bend at the elbow. Hand is patting between the shoulder blades. The other hand, bending at the elbow, reaching up in between the shoulder blades. You may not connect, that's absolutely fine. If you do, you're interlacing, you're kind of cupping the fingers like this. And the gaze is forward. Breathing into the belly if you can. And then releasing the hands. And we're going to do the other side. So you can just release them and start to revolve the hands in the other way. Elbow pointing up towards the ceiling. Other hand is reaching up between the back, the shoulder blade. You might even catch a hold of your t-shirt if you want to. I just like to keep the hands like resting where they are so that I'm not trying to force anything or force the arms into a position that they're just not ready for. And if there's rotation of the shoulder, like so my right shoulder is definitely further rolled forward from all the computer work and the mouse work. So I'm just, you know, kinder to that arm. It's not going up as far as the other one. And then release and let go. And one more little arm exercise before we move. So bending the elbows, bring the right elbow to the inside of the left, and you're going to wrap the hands. Now, if you can wrap them right around so that the palms of the hands come together, that's great. But if you're not quite there, that's absolutely fine as well. You can just have the elbows resting on top of each other. Lifting the elbows up in front of the face and press the elbows away. If you can, and if you'd like to, you can lift up the elbows as high as you can, looking up towards the hands. And then as you breathe out, hinging forwards. If the arms come down towards the floor, that's great, but don't force anything. It's only if it's kind of flowing there. And then lifting the arms again. It needs a lot of abdominal strength. And then coming back to neutral, releasing the arms. And now we do the other side. Bring the left elbow to the inside of the right arm, bringing the palms of the hands wherever is most comfortable, pressing the elbows away from the face. So you're kind of rounding the tops of your shoulders. Breathing in and then breathing out. You're lifting up the elbows as far as they can go and hinging forwards. So only going as far as is comfortable. Next time you breathe in, you're lifting back up again, lifting up the elbows as high as you can go, and then back to neutral and releasing the arms and shaking them out. That's great. Lift up those knees, extend the legs, and give the legs a little shake out. Just been sitting cross-legged for quite a while, so they may feel a little tingly. I just wanted to make sure that nobody was having a problem there. Okay. So rocking the legs from side to side and wiggling those toes. Brilliant. We'll just do a little twist of the legs, a little bind, and then we will come into one of our favorite poses, Pigeon, because, you know, it's the last one before little summer break, so we couldn't not. So one leg is extended out, the other knee is bent. Cross the foot over the straightened leg. If you feel that you're a little bit constricted with your tummy, just lean back to allow you to come up and twist so that you can hug that knee in with the wrong arm, and the other hand can wrap around towards the back and flex that foot that's extended out in front of you. So this little bind, a little twist, just to get us started. You may feel it into the hip, you may feel it into the glutes. And then release, coming back to the center. Uncross that top leg, extend it out, bending up the other knee. Now cross the foot over the straightened leg, toes pointing up towards the ceiling, leaning back if you need to, let your tummy be free, and then coming back up, hugging the knee in. The other hand just revolves behind you, allowing you to open up and enjoy that twist. And remember to flex that foot so the toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. You're pressing out through the heel and your leg is straight and strong. And release and come back to center. Leaning back, uncross the top leg, bend the knees and come up into tabletop. Moving away any blankets or anything like that that might be in your way. And we just do a little downward dog to begin and then come into pigeon. So first fingers are pointing forwards towards the top of the mat. Spreading out the fingers, curl the toes under and lift the knees up off the floor. Now you can keep the knees deeply bent. You can just start to lift up the heels and dropping them down and stepping even the feet, because that can help just work into the muscles at the backs of the legs. And just pedaling out the legs, lifting up one hand and lifting up the other so that you're moving your hips from side to side. And then coming to rest in downward dog. Your feet are parallel. The heels are coming to whatever point the heels are coming to. So don't, you know, if your heels don't come down onto the floor, that's absolutely fine. You're lifting your hips up towards the ceiling and your ears are in line with your upper arms, if that's possible. Bend the knees if you feel like that there's just too much pressure on the wrists. And then when you're ready, moving the left foot in a little to give you a bit more balance. Lifting up the right leg and straightening it or bending it in towards the buttocks. Straightening it if you like. And then bending the knee in towards the chest. And bring that knee forward and lay the front that lower leg across the mat. So your knee is at the back of the wrist. So I have my right knee behind my right wrist and walk the left leg back so that you're lowering down onto that heel. Now, if you feel that you're quite unbalanced and that you might fall over, grab a block or a cushion and place it under the opposite hip. Or another option, if your legs are feeling a little bit sore, place a cushion across the midline so that you can kind of sit onto the cushion. And when you're ready, lowering onto the forearms. Staying here for a couple of breaths. If you feel that you'd like to go a little bit deeper in a moment or two, it just depends on how your hips are and how your thigh is. Because your upper thigh muscles, you may feel, you know, when you get into it at first, you're like, oh, there's something wrong. Don't be afraid to lean over to the side. Let the muscle release and adjust, and then come back into pigeon. If you feel you'd like to go a little bit deeper, you can cross the forearms, place the forehead down on the forearms, or you could extend the arms and actually bring your forehead down onto the floor. And breathing into pigeon. Pigeon is always a challenge. It's very uncomfortable, but it shouldn't be painful. If you need to raise the level, you know, put cushions underneath the sitting bones or underneath the hips, you absolutely do that. But breathing into it allows the hips to soften and release and relax. And then placing the hands flat on the floor again, bringing the hands onto the floor in order to lift the upper body. We're going to bend that back knee. And you can just stay here if you like, or you can try, if you'd like to, place your forearm on the floor to be able to reach back if you need a little bit more kind of balance or stability, to reach back and hold the front of the foot. Now this works deeply into the quad. So checking to see whether or not it's available. If you'd like to just come up onto the hand, it takes a little bit of balance, but you can be up on the hand if you like. You can be on the forearm, whatever you like. And the other option, of course, is to have both forearms on the floor and just bend the knee. And then when you're ready, releasing the foot from behind, placing the foot back down on the floor, walking the leg forward. So you're lifting the knee, walking the foot forward to take the pressure off that front leg. Press the floor away, lift up the leg, extend it up towards the ceiling again, and back down into downward dog. And then we do the other side. So take a moment or two to bend the knees, feel into the legs, let the blood flow back into the right leg, and lift the left leg. You can straighten it out, you can bend the foot in towards the buttocks if you like, and then bring the weight forward, bending the knee, bring the left knee behind the left wrist, crossing the lower leg across the mat, and walk the right leg back. And once more, you know, you can have a cushion in underneath the bum, or you can have a cushion right underneath across the mat, so that you're almost sitting down on it, if that will be helpful. And then coming down onto the forearms. Allow yourself to adjust if you need to. So could take a breath or two. If you do need to roll over up to the side to release any tension in the leg, do that. And then you can roll back up again. So you always have the ability to move and to adjust and to come out of something if you need to. So really trusting yourself on that. That it's not giving up or failing. It's actually just really tuning into what your body needs and respecting it and enjoying it. And then if you'd like to go a bit deeper and you'd like to extend the arms, place the forehead on the floor, place the forehead on the backs of the hands. Breathing into any holding on that you might be doing or any tension. And lifting the upper body up again. And this time we're bending the back leg and adjusting again, whichever way. If you want to stay here with just the leg bent, or if you want to place the forearm of the left arm down on the floor to reach the right hand back. Or if you'd like to be up on the palm of the left hand to reach the right hand back. I can see that my shoulders are dropping, so I need to, or they're lifting, should I say, so I need to drop them down. I'm breathing into it, so this works really deeply into those quads. And releasing the back foot, hands flat on the floor, looking forward, and then curl the toes under the back leg, walking that leg forward so that the knee lifts up and you take the weight off that front leg. And it gives you enough space then to press the floor away, lift the left leg back up into the air and down into downward dog. Just for a moment, lifting the hips, ears in line with the upper arms, bending and straightening the legs as best as you can. And then dropping the knees down on the floor, wide, big toes together, sitting down the heels, reaching the arms forward, little fingers out to the outside edges of the mat. If you can, resting the forehead on the floor. Don't worry if that's not available. If you're up away from the floor, it's just making sure that the elbows are off the floor. And staying where you are in the lower half of the body, walk the hands over to the left-hand side. So you can place one hand on top of the other and getting a really deep stretch to the whole side of the body. Walking the hands over to the other side. And once again, one hand will rest on the other so that you know that you're not going to try to go too far, because to place one hand on top of the other is difficult. And then walk the hands back to center again, reaching the hands as far forward as they can so you can really feel that lengthening into the sides of the body. And then lifting up back into the tabletop. Now, bring the hands back towards the knees and come upright, sitting up onto the knees. Bringing the right foot forward. Time check here. Yeah, right foot forward. So we're just going to lean into a low lunge. And then bringing the weight back again. Curl the toes under the back foot for a little bit of balance and lift up the toes of the front foot. So you're sitting down towards the heel into a runner's lunge. But feel that lengthening of the muscle at the back of the right leg. Bring the weight forward again into a low lunge. You can rest the hands on the top of the knee, of the front knee, and place the front of the foot down onto the floor of the back leg. Place the left hand down on the floor, so we're going to do a little twist. Left hand down on the floor. Look over to the right and press the insides of your knee out. So I'm going to show you here. I'll turn towards the camera. Hand is on the floor. Pressing the inside of the knee out. So you're coming up onto the side of the foot. And you look over your shoulder. And you're leaning forward into this lunge. If you'd like to go a little bit deeper, you can reach the hand up towards the ceiling if you like. And then bring that top hand down onto the floor and place the foot back onto the floor. And walk that foot out a little bit, and the foot turns out at an angle. So now you're in lizard. Curl the toes under of the back leg to lift the knee up off the floor and just stay in this. You can come down onto the forearms if you like. I'll go sideways again to show you. Tuck that t-shirt. So you can stay here with the hands placed on the floor, the knees up off the floor, or you can come down onto the forearms. That's a much deeper hip flexible position. And then drop the back knee down, bringing the foot back into the center, coming back upright, and bring the front foot back into a kneeling position, bringing the left foot forward. So bringing the weight forward, low lunge, back toes are curled under. You're moving just really slowly and consciously. Just bringing the weight back, maybe even bringing the hands down onto the floor. Just to start with, if one side is tighter than the other, do all that you need to do to give yourself that stability and that flexibility. So bring the weight forward again. This time resting the palms of the hands on the tops of the knees. We're not pressing down. We put the front of the foot onto the floor. You can lift the chest or the breastbone. And then placing that front hand down onto the floor. Pressing the inside of the knee out, looking over the shoulder. That nice low lunge twist. If you'd like to extend the hand up towards the ceiling, bring the hand back down onto the knee, placing the foot flat on the floor again. Bring the left hand down onto the floor, curling the toes under the back leg, lifting up the knee. The front foot turns to angle out a little, so it gives you a little bit of space on the inside of the leg to either stay here on the palms of the hands or coming down onto the forearms. Placing the knee back down onto the floor again. Bring that front foot back into the center. Sitting back towards the heel again, once more into a little bit of a runner's lunge, toes pointing up towards the ceiling. Sitting down towards that back foot if you can, hands on either side. And then coming back up, bringing the front foot back to meet the other in the kneeling position. So put the fronts of the feet down onto the floor. We'll do just a little camel before coming down onto the floor. Hands to the lower back, pressing the hips forward. Breathing in, lifting up out of the pelvic bowl. Notice if you've started to grip in the buttocks, to relax the buttocks as best as you can. Pressing the hips forward, opening up the front of the chest. Bring the gaze up towards the ceiling. We're not going to go much further than this. So just breathing here for a moment or two. And then bringing the gaze forward, looking towards the opposite wall, bringing the arms down onto the floor. And resting the forehead on the forearms, sway the hips from side to side. If you feel a kind of a pulse or a throbbing in the throat, take it very, very easily. This really engages with the throat chakra and all of the thymus and with your breath. So it can make you a little breathless at times. So just taking it very, very easy. If you feel that, especially with this heat can cause you to get a little bit overactive with the thyroid as well. So breathing in, lifting up out of the pelvic bowl, breathing out, pressing the hips forward, bringing the elbows towards each other. Gaze up towards the ceiling if that's comfortable to you. If you'd like to, you can curl the toes under to give you a little bit more stability and bring the hands down towards the backs of the legs. The other option is to bring the hands towards the heels, opening up the front of the chest. And then bring the hands to the lower back, bringing the gaze forward, placing the hands flat on the floor, crossing the forearms, sway the hips from side to side. And then placing the hands flat on the floor, coming to sit, turning around, and coming down onto the back directly, bringing the knees into the chest. And just gently rocking the knees and the hips from side to side. So a gentle little swaying motion. Do a little circle with the lower back in one direction. You can place the hands on the fronts of the knees if you like, and then a little circle in the opposite direction. Now, bring the arms out to the sides. Keep the knees and ankles together, and the knees are stacked over the hips. The lower legs can just hang as they are. And then drop the knees over to the right-hand side, keeping the connection there as best as you can, and bring your gaze in the opposite direction. If you find that it's too much, place a cushion or soft surface underneath the outside knee to give you a little bit of height. This is a really, really effective spinal twist and a massage of the inner organs. Breathing in, coming back up to center, just getting your alignment straight again. So making sure that the shoulders are in line with the hips, knees stacked over the hips, And then dropping the knees over to the other side. Bringing the gaze in the opposite direction. And if you find that your shoulders are lifting up, again, throw, something underneath the shoulders to keep that connection with the surface and to make you feel that you're supported and stabilized. Don't forget to breathe. With each breath out, softening, releasing, relaxing. Bring the knees back up to center. Hook the knees into the chest, lifting the head towards the knees just as best as you can. And then extend the legs along the floor, pointing the feet and bringing the arms up overhead, holding the opposite elbows. Breathing in deeply. See if you can bring the arms down towards the floor so you feel a really lengthening stretch to the abdominals when you raise the arms up overhead. Breathing in here. And then as you breathe out through the mouth, bring the arms by the sides. Palms the hands facing upwards, let the feet fall out to the side. And you can decide here if you'd like to just stay here. We have a good 7 or 8 minutes that we can stay in Shavasana. Or if you would like to adjust and use some cushions, you can absolutely get them now. But just move slowly and with care. So rolling over to one side to start, pressing yourself up, and then getting any cushions, blankets, or clothing that you need. And as we do with restorative, Shavasana is corpse pose, which is the recovery pose, and it allows the body to fully absorb the benefits of the movement. So it's really, really important that you allow the body to enjoy every single minute of it, because it sends a really deep, gratifying message to the nervous system. I appreciate all that you've done, and I'm now going to enjoy you're reaping the rewards. So if you use the cushion underneath the head, consider rolling the top corners in and under to create that wedge for your head that we've spoken about before. If you have any lower back issues, getting some cushions in underneath the knees and raising them as high as you need to. Or even if you feel that actually you need them under the hips and underneath the heels, doing that or trying it out, playing around with cushions and props and blankets is fantastic. And then the hands can rest on the belly or they can rest away from the sides of the body, palms of the hands facing up. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, and then just softening, releasing and letting go. All effort with the breath. You're no longer doing any conscious movements. You're allowing the body to soften and the breath to be as it wishes to be. The time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome. And it will say, sit here, eat. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you have ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit, feast on your life. time will come when with elation you will greet yourself arriving at your own door in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, sit here, eat. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you have ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit, feast on your life. Deepening the breath a little. Noticing your swallow. Rubbing your fingertips together, moving the wrists. Bending up the knees and gently swaying the knees from side to side. When you're ready, just rolling over onto one side and resting there for a minute. So bringing the knees in towards the tummy, the chin in towards the chest. And the hands just curled up, maybe under the chin, underneath the head or the cheek, wherever is comfortable. Maybe keeping the eyes closed and using the upper hand to press the floor away, come up into an upright seated position. And sensing the breath in the body, where are you feeling perhaps a little movement? Is it in the nostrils, in the mouth, in the chest, in the tummy? Maybe deepening the breath a little. Bringing the hands together, rubbing the hands together. Noticing the sensation of the skin, maybe the temperature of the hands. Or maybe even if you want to just hold the palms of the hands together and noticing the shape of the bones or the pressure, the hands pressing towards one another. And placing the hands at the top of the head, just a gentle little pressure from the hands, noticing the scalp. Bring the hands around to the front of the face, cupping the hands over the eyes, being aware of how the muscles of the eyes are feeling. Are they tired? Are they rested? Bring the hands down along the jawline, becoming aware of how this part of the face feels. Is it relaxed? Is it softened? Or is it tense? Bringing the hands down on either side of the neck and throat. Maybe even just resting the jawline on the sides of the hands or noticing how the back of the neck is feeling. Even you could just move the head from side to side to sense into the muscles of the neck. And then placing one hand on the tummy, one hand on the heart, bowing the head for a moment. Taking a nice deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Bringing the hands together in prayer position, pressing the thumbs to the heart center and bowing the head. And perhaps taking anything that you may have noticed during the practice. Either something that you may not have noticed before about how you're feeling, physically, emotionally, or if your thoughts were with something else that you'd like to set an intention. And maybe just sending out a good thought to somebody or sending a good thought to yourself. And thanking yourself for making the time and the space to practice yoga this evening, especially on such a warm, warm evening. And I thank you for coming to practice with me. Namaste. Thanks, everybody.